Hey guys, it's Diana. Welcome back to my channel, and today I want to talk about episode 6 of In the Dark. So this episode was titled Tyson, and as we figured out from the end of last episode, Tyson was found dead. This episode pretty much focused on his funeral and everybody dealing with the fact that he's dead, and there were a lot of flashbacks. It was honestly, I thought it was kind of slow in terms of how the episodes have been so far. I'd put it up there with the one that aired a couple weeks ago where Murphy and Max went on the road trip. It just seems like it was running at a much slower pace. There wasn't a whole lot happening, and I don't know. So we start off, they're in the bar as usual, and Dean shows up, and Murphy is making fun of him because she thinks that he's there to go out on another date with Chelsea, the bartender. However, he's very serious, and he tells her that they found Tyson's body. They believe that he had been dead for about a month. And Murphy is obviously very upset, but she doesn't really show it. She just says that she's fine and leaves with Jess. And they go back to their apartment, but they stop in the alley because Murphy wants to smoke a cigarette. And Jess is kind of beating around the bush, and she eventually tells her that the police are searching the alley. And Murphy gets really upset because they are all of a sudden turning it into a crime scene, whereas nobody had listened to her a couple of weeks ago when she had told them that she found a dead body in the alley. So she gets into an altercation with a police officer who tells them that they need to leave, and she just wants to smoke her cigar, so she doesn't listen to him. She tells Pretzel to go forward and past the officer. The officer grabs her and somehow separates her from Pretzel. I don't know if she just drops his leash and harness or what the deal is. So Jess grabs onto Pretzel, tells the officer over and over again, she has a guide dog, she can't see, stop, Murphy, meanwhile, isn't really putting up much of a fight, and I don't blame her, but if I were in that situation, I'd be screaming. The officer puts her in the cruiser without Pretzel, without her cane, takes her to, the police station or whatever, and the next scene is Dean going into the room that she's in, and he tells her that the charges have been dropped and she's fine and blah blah blah. But then they take her immediately into questioning about Tyson, where she gets very mad at Dean and Jules because of course, she's there, and tells them that she had told them all of this information a few weeks ago, and she, again, just rehashing that nobody had listened to her and Tyson might have still been alive. And she comes to the realization that when she had found Tyson, he was most likely still conscious. He might have been asleep or something, because his body felt different than the owner of the flower shop's body, who, was just killed instantly with the gunshot. She spends the majority of the episode beating herself up about the fact that she didn't realize that he was still alive and someone had come by and killed him. Whoever had killed Tyson had shot him in the forehead, basically. And Murphy thinks that there's a connection between him and the guy who killed the owner of the flower shop. She also tells the detectives that she recognized the killer's voice from somewhere. She couldn't pinpoint where exactly, but she knew where it came from, and she said that if she heard it again, that she would know who it was. A lot of this episode jumps around to everybody, and one of the subplots is Darnell and Rhonda. Rhonda is Tyson's mom, and Darnell wants to pay for Tyson's funeral, but Rhonda says that she doesn't want his money, and she thinks that it's Darnell's fault, which it pretty much is. He admits it later that it's his fault that Tyson's dead. So she tells him to get out as she's meeting with the guy from the funeral home, and that's pretty much it in terms of their storyline. But we cut back to Max and Murphy, and Max is trying to be there for her, but of course she pushes him away because she just wants to isolate herself and be alone. And Max doesn't take no for an answer, and he keeps trying to, push to have her talk to him, and she breaks up with him basically and tells him to get out, which he does. Jess and Vanessa, mainly Jess, tries to also be there for Murphy, but of course Murphy just wants to be alone and says that nothing is going to make her feel better, and she just spends the entire episode pushing everybody away. Meanwhile, we are also back at Tyson's mom's apartment, and she's going through Tyson's room and finds a check and some drugs, and Darnell just so happens to show up, and Tyson's mom gets very mad at him and gives him the money and the drugs. And Darnell says that Tyson was saving the money to give to her, but she obviously doesn't want it, so she tells Darnell to get out again, you know, and gives him the money, and he leaves. Murphy ends up getting into a conversation with some guy at the bar who initially asks her what her name is, and she just says no, and he leaves her alone. And then she goes back, and he's still there, and she tries to get him to sleep with her, and he's like, oh, I was gonna buy you dinner or whatever. And so they go into like the bathroom in the bar or whatever, and he can't do it. He like freaks out and leaves, and Murphy comes back out into the bar, and she sees Dean and Jess and everybody, and they're trying to get her to go to Tyson's funeral, and she just says that she's not gonna go. She doesn't want to go. And Dean tries to get her to go by telling her about his wife's death, because in the last episode we learned that Chloe's mother, Dean's wife, had died. And I'm assuming that it's probably linked to the car accident in which Chloe lost her vision, that maybe her mother died in that accident. It's a CW show, so that's pretty predictable. Murphy eventually comes to her senses and goes to the funeral, but she doesn't really make any efforts. She just shows up in the same outfit that she wears all the time, which is the red hoodie and a white t-shirt and some jeans. And she's very drunk, and she tries to confront Tyson's father because she thinks that he lied to the police when he actually didn't. He had shown them proof from his doorbell app on his phone that Tyson had come to visit him that morning on his way out of Chicago, even though the detectives said that they found his body in Chicago, so something, you know, didn't line up. So Rhonda ends up throwing Murphy out of the church, and she and Darnell end up having a heart-to-heart. They're both sitting outside, and Darnell tells Murphy that it was his fault because he was the one who had Tyson work on that corner. And Murphy again is beating herself up and just said that, you know, if she wasn't herself, she would have been able to tell sooner that something was wrong and they could have avoided this whole thing. I feel like, you know, they're on better terms now than they definitely were in the pilot. He ends up leaving the door to the church propped open so she can hear the funeral and the eulogy and everything. So this episode is intercut with Tyson recording videos on his phone that previous summer.
I can't believe you're this excited about a dumb phone.
I literally waited in line for 6 straight hours to get this. You're not gonna take this moment away from me. All right. And we are up and running. First take.
What are you doing?
I'm recording.
You recording me? Don't record me.
You're like,
Stop it. Turn it off.
Yeah. Okay.
Camera, turn the camera.
Sure. Whatever you say. So, I guess the most important question here for
Yes.
you is...
Yes.
How you love me so much.
Oh, God.
It's because maybe I'm an upstanding member of society.
No, it's because you're an idiot, actually.
An idiot?
Yep, that's why I love you. Can you turn that off, please?
And we are live once again.
Ah.
I'm taking Murphy to one of my favorite places on earth.
I'm over this new phone thing. Stop recording me.
You're really gonna appreciate these when you get older.
Yeah, because that's going to be me when I'm older, constantly watching videos.
Well, I'll appreciate them. But
God, this heat is destroying what's left of my soul.
then you're gonna love where I'm taking you. Here.
Wait, you are still going to talk to me when we're older, right?
Obviously.
But what if your wife, like, hates me?
Well, I wouldn't marry someone who hates you. I don't think. Or my mom.
And if your surprise is to take us fishing, I'm gonna drown myself.
Actually, we're not getting fish. We're gonna be fish because we're at the lake now.
Wait, you really expect me to swim?
Oh.
I'm not gonna swim.
Dude, no one knows about this place, man. And the water is, oh my God, so sweet.
Well, first of all, I'm not wearing a swimsuit because I don't own a swimsuit because I don't swim.
Well, I just don't want you to look back on this moment and think, oh, why didn't I get in with him?
I don't think so. I don't think that's gonna happen.
Oh, that's perfect. My phone's still in my pocket. This is not funny.
So Tyson's mother is watching these videos because they're on his computer.
What are you doing?
Nothing.
I can tell when you get really quiet that you're recording me.
I'm not recording.
Yes, you
Wait, no,
are.
chill. I'm not recording.
Give it to me.
It's in my pocket.
It is
I'm
not.
bringing it over here in my pocket. It's done.
Give me the phone. There's nothing worse than Chicago summer, except maybe a lot of hot blubber. It's so hot, I hate it so much.
hate that.
God, I am such a hot mess.
Such a
that
hot
didn't
mess.
rhyme. Okay, where are we?
No.
What is it? What is it?
No. It's
No,
fine.
something was in me.
No, it's cool. You can
bugs
trust
out
me.
here. I don't
It's
even
all
know
right.
where we are.
I'm your guy.
She ends up later finding Murphy in the alley because she realized that she and Tyson were very good friends, even though, you know, Murphy had been a complete pain in the neck at the funeral. And she gives Murphy a little vial with Tyson's ashes in it, because apparently it's like a family tradition of theirs to give ashes to family members, and Murphy was a family member to Tyson. After Murphy gets the ashes from Rhonda, she goes and buys a one-piece bathing suit and leaves the tag on it, and Jess takes her to the lake, and she gets, you know, undressed and goes into the water with a bathing suit. And it's the end of March, beginning of April or something, like time-wise in this show. So, you know, the water's cold and the air is cold, but Murphy goes into the lake and she floats on her back and she unleashes Tyson's ashes into the water. And the whole scene I thought was very touching, but you know, she also wants to return the bathing suit when she's done using it, which is why she left the tag on. And it's like, really? That's not gonna work. So that night, Murphy ends up at Max's food truck and she goes in to apologize and he accepts it and, you know, they hug. There's a person outside who we later find out is Wesley, who is one of the people involved in Darnell's whole operation. And he was talking to Max and he needed money or whatever, and Murphy heard them yelling because she was inside and Max and Wesley were outside, and she recognized the voice as the killer who killed the flower shop guy and who probably killed Tyson, because she had a flashback in that moment of being in the bathroom stall at the flower shop and hearing that voice, hearing Wesley. So that's pretty much where the episode ends. Max comes back into the food truck with a duffel bag full of money or whatever it is, and Murphy ends up telling him that that's the voice that she heard, and she asks him who it is and he says it's Wesley, and the episode literally just ends with her saying that's him, that's the killer. So I don't know, this episode was alright. I liked that they were cutting back to older memories of Murphy and Tyson and, you know, various things that they were doing, and his phone recording all these videos and everything. And I liked that, you know, everybody was trying to be there for Murphy, even though she was being her usual self. Another thing that I've noticed is that this series seems to be going about doing Sighted Guide a different way that I've seen. It's mainly with Murphy. I observed one time, I think with Chloe, when Dean was giving her Sighted Guide, that she was holding onto his elbow, which is typically how you do it. Is the person who's guiding you is a few steps ahead or whatever, and you're holding onto their elbow and you're also using your cane or dog or whatever. Murphy just grabs onto anybody's shoulder and follows them that way, and I don't know how effective that is. I haven't done it, but I can't imagine it would be. I don't know. I mean, that's just an observation that I had. It really doesn't mean anything. But next week, we're getting more of Chloe. I think in the episode description that I saw, it's going to involve Murphy offering to watch her, and Dean says it's okay, but then she ends up doing quote-unquote the one thing he asked her not to do or something. But the promo for it showed Darnell like spying on Murphy and somebody trying to kill her, basically, because it basically spoils that she got the killer. You know, she knew it was Wesley. She told the police, they ID'd him, and he's going to be in jail, and that's it. Like, that's pretty much, like, that's literally what the promo is. And then it shows people shooting, and her and Chloe saying that if I die before I kiss a boy, it's gonna be all your fault. And it's like, we're not even halfway through this season, and they just had Tyson's funeral, and next episode they're locking away the killer. So I don't know what they're trying to achieve, again, because this was renewed for a second season. So maybe they're gonna be killing someone else and having Murphy witness the murder. I don't know. Anyway, that's it. I really don't have anything else to say about this episode. It was okay. I mean, there were obviously some emotional aspects to it, but overall it was just kind of like subpar. However, I'd like to hear your comments on it, if you've watched it, or what direction you think the show is going to be going in, you know, in the future. And if you like this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, hit the bell, subscribe. I can't tell you what to do, but I will see you next time. Bye!